Hi guys, today I am here for Eren's 2-week baby newborn update. Just letting you know what's going on in his little world as well as my postpartum world. So let's hop in and see what's up. So for a while there, Eren was only liking to nurse on one side each feeding. Not like he preferred the left or the right, but just this time we'll drink on one side. Next time we'll drink on the other side. But he's finally starting to get into drinking on both sides each time, which I'm so grateful for because holy F, I've had a couple clogged ducts this week, just the past couple days, and they have been so terrible. I even told my husband, this is like just as bad as recovering from the C-section. Like, I forgot how freaking terrible clogged milk ducts are. Holy crap. I remember with my first son, I had a couple in the beginning and then I had one the week that I went back to work. And so I've already had a couple this past week, so I hope that that's it for now. It just sucks so bad. It makes you feel like death. Like, oh, it just sucks so bad. So that's one thing about me. I've had some clogged ducts this week and it's super duper sucked. So another thing about the nursing thing is, like, they always tell you feed on demand. When baby's hungry, feed them. But then they go and tell you for the first few weeks you have to wake baby to feed. Baby doesn't know when he needs to eat. So that's kind of conflicting and confusing information, especially for a first-time mom who, you know, if I'm only supposed to feed baby when he's hungry but he's sleeping like 4 hours, why should I wake him and feed him, right? So that's kind of confusing. And I was like that with my first son, Calvin, but I know better this time around because he didn't gain enough weight in the first couple weeks, my first son. So I knew this time around I had to wake him every couple hours and every 3 hours overnight and just like really be on him about feeding. And I just kind of wanted to mention that. I understand when moms get confused by that information because it feels like you're being told two opposite things. Some people are saying feed baby when baby wants to eat, and yet your pediatrician will tell you feed baby every couple hours because he has to gain weight. So that can be very confusing information. But I would say Eren is a lot better than Calvin was, especially at nighttime. Calvin, the first few nights, would go several hours without waking up to feed, and Eren is not like that. He's usually about every 3 or 4 hours that he'll wake up and feed. He's pretty good about it. We haven't been back to our pediatrician yet. We're going on Wednesday, which is 2 days from now. So I don't know his stats or anything. I'll put them in the description down below once we do figure out like how big he is and whatnot. Hopefully he has gained back his birth weight and he's doing really good in that department. And also at that pediatrician appointment, we'll learn more about how his jaundice is doing because he was a little jaundiced in the beginning. And I have been using some sunshine therapy on him. I'll sit him in front of the window on his little boppy seat thing for I think 15 minutes, maybe 2-3 times a day, and not like directly in the sun, but just like so that the sunlight is coming in on him. And I think that's really helped. I know that Calvin was jaundiced in the beginning and it seemed like it took forever for him to get over it, but I didn't ever do anything like that with him. With Eren, I have started putting him in front of the window a lot, like intentionally doing that, and he seems to be getting over it really, really quick. I don't see any more yellow in his eyes. I think he's pretty much done with it, but the doctor may or may not make us go back to the hospital, get some blood drawn, and see exactly what the stats are looking like for him on Wednesday. I hope we don't have to go to the hospital on Wednesday because that just sucks. Like going to the pediatrician, you're like, oh, I'm going to the pediatrician's appointment. It's only gonna be like half an hour. But then they're like, okay, can you go over to the hospital, which is another 15 minutes down the road, to get your blood drawn and like hang out and chill for a while they wait on you, you know, while waiting for them to call you and whatnot. So it sucks having to do that. But I know it's all for baby's best interest, but it would just be nice to go to the pediatrician and not have to go to the hospital as well. So nursing is getting a lot better. It's a little bit better. My nipples still hurt, but not as terribly as they did in my last update. Like I said, I had the clogged ducts issue. My left nipple is still pretty sensitive, but it's not too terrible. I wouldn't say I'm 100% yet as far as achiness in the boob area is concerned, but I am a lot better than I was before. I also feel like Eren's starting to get a little bit of a schedule, which is really nice. I feel like he's up around like midnight, 3 a.m., 6 a.m. He's pretty consistent about his nighttime stuff. He likes to be awake, at least the last probably 4 or 5 days he's been awake like first thing in the morning, like from 8, 9 o'clock for a couple hours, and he likes to be awake like in the evenings, sometimes a little later than we would like. My husband went back to work. My husband went back to work this week, and so he wakes up at 5 o'clock in the morning. We go to bed pretty darn early, usually by 9 o'clock every night. So we want Eren to be like settled down and ready to go to bed by 9 o'clock, but he's not always ready at 9 o'clock. He likes to be up for a couple hours, sometimes until 10 or 11, and that's kind of sucky. But I mean, it's nothing too terrible. It gets to the point where you're like, okay, I could go to bed, but I'm gonna be up in an hour when he wants to feed anyway, so I might as well just stay up another hour. Oh, one thing that I did want to mention that I did not experience this with Calvin. People talk a lot about having cramping sensations when you're breastfeeding, like actually putting baby to breast. You feel like your stomach cramping and whatnot, which is contracting your uterus back down to its regular size. I don't remember that with Calvin at all, but I am definitely feeling it this time around. And that could just be the fact that I'm like a little more aware of it this time, or the fact that it's my second baby, and they say with subsequent babies you feel it more and more. Also, I feel like getting out of bed in the middle of the night is a lot easier this time around, and I'm not totally sure why. I remember recovering from the C-section with Calvin. I felt like my stomach was going to rip open every time I got up out of bed to go and get him, to nurse him, like just to physically sit up out of bed and go take care of the baby. I felt like death every time. It felt like a long time. It felt like the whole first week or two, you know? But I have not experienced that so far this time. Like in the hospital it sucked, you know, because I mean I was freshly wounded, but since I've been home it really hasn't been that big of a deal. Not as bad as I remember it with Calvin, at least. As for myself personally, I'm still feeling very happy. I haven't had too many baby blues things to talk about. I mean, every once in a while I'll just like look at my boys and it makes me emotional that they're mine, you know, that like they're gonna be best friends, brothers for the rest of their lives, you know, like it gets me a little emotional, like even just thinking about it. But I haven't had any like bad terrible baby blues moments or sadness or anything like that. I've been very happy, much more like just cheery than I was in the first few weeks after Calvin was born, which I'm super duper thankful for. Also in the weight loss department, I am down to 160, so I've lost another 5 pounds since my 1 week update. But I feel like after this, like that's pretty much what I'm gonna be like kind of stagnant for a while. I feel like that's how it was with Calvin, at least. Since you technically can't be working out and whatnot until like, you know, a month or 6 weeks or whatever, and I'm not going to try to be working out or anything. Just trying to watch what I'm eating and not snack all day long. I definitely feel like I have less of an appetite. Like I feel like that's one of the biggest things that kind of happened after I gave birth, is like my appetite went back to like being relatively normal. I didn't feel like I was starving all the time. Another thing about being unpregnant is not peeing all the time. That's a great thing. I love that one so much. It's crazy how immediately a few things just like magically happen as soon as you've given birth, and the peeing and not eating all the time are two of my favorites. So yeah, that's about it for today's update. I hope you guys enjoyed. Give the video a thumbs up if you did like it, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye. Say hi! Say hi! Hi! We can't see you! You gotta sit up taller. Okay, there you go. Okay. Okay, look at the camera. Look at the camera.
What are we looking at?
I'm just filming a shot of 2-week-old Eren. I got Calvin in there. Okay. Is that as good as it gets?